What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the DFS Picks and Prediction Show. Be sure to tune in every Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, where me, Weezy, MMA Monk, and Gordo break down the upcoming card from a DFS perspective and give our predictions on the fights as well. Also, be sure to leave a like, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio as always, so you don't miss out on all the content. And as always, guys, we're going to go through our fight to target, our fight to fade, our fighter to fade, our favorite dog, our favorite GPP play, our favorite cash play, our favorite value play, and our favorite dart throw. Should be a fun show. I'm here, as always, with Uncle Weezy, Gordo, and Monk. We'll start with you, Weezy. What is up? You looking forward to this card?
Yeah, man, it's a good one. There's a couple of fights that I'm really not looking forward to on this card, but for, a fight night card in Vegas and the Apex, I think there's some real beauties on this card, man. The curtain jerker in particular, Kakramanov versus Lawrence, is a real banger, and there are some really good ones on the main card too. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Sounds good. We got Gordo as well. Gordo, what is up? You looking forward to the show today?
Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think you guys, like you said, it's a great looking card, especially from an entertainment standpoint. I think that when it comes to betting in DFS, I'm going to struggle putting my foot down in some fights, but I think it's going to be fun to watch. And that's always what you're looking for, especially from these fight nights, is fights you're going to enjoy and fights you're going to want to tune into. And that's all I can ask for. And hope to make some money on the side to make it even better.
Sounds good. Last but not least, we got Monk. Monk, what is up? How you doing?
What's up, boys? Doing pretty well. Looking forward to this card for sure. There's two women's flyweights fight on there, so I got to try and figure out which one to choose. Which one's going to make the optimal lineup? The battle of the Rafaels. Someone's going to have to change the pronunciation of their first name, so I'm super excited about this one.
There we go. I like it. All right, guys. As always, if you have any questions in the chat, be sure to comment them, and we will answer them after we go through everything. Let us start with the fight to target, as always. And we will start with you, Weezy. What is your fight to target for this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Ronnie Lawrence versus Saeed-Yakub Kakramanov here. It's a very easy one. If there's one, maybe I think there's probably two fighters in the entire UFC who are the best fighters for DraftKings. It's Ronnie Lawrence and it's JSP, Jonathan Pierce. It's guys that just put together this crazy volume. The wrestling is good enough and timed well enough to get takedowns, but not high level enough to hold you down. So they have to take you down 6 times every round in order to get the kind of control time that they want. So Ronnie's scoring 6.7 DraftKings points a minute. So if we were to just do a little bit of arithmetic here, that would say that even in a decision loss, this guy would be scoring over 100 points in a 3-round fight. In a decision loss, that's what 6.7 DraftKings points per minute is. That's just bonkers. So he's landed 26 takedowns in only 3 fights. He's never had less than 450 seconds of control time in any of those fights. Ronnie's fights are averaging 161 total points scored. The second highest on the card is Turcios with 150. And then the third highest is 129.4 for Petrosyan. So that just shows you what an outlier this guy is in terms of just racking up DraftKings points and being in the kind of fights where even the loser gets dragged up and makes a bunch of points because he's getting reversals, because he's landing a good volume of strikes, because there's been knockdowns in his fight. Just the last fight for Ronnie Lawrence had 5 knockdowns total in it. So the guy fights at the kind of pace. He's the perfect dance partner to whether you have Ronnie or whether you're on the other side and you have Saeed-Yakub, you're going to get 2 guys that are going to be in a very high volume, high paced fight. It's a great one to target both sides of.
Absolutely. Well said. I like it. Gordo, how about you? What is your favorite fight to target?
Dude, those stats don't seem real. Like it's fake. The guy is so good. And Weezy, you missed one. My boy Murad, you can't forget him. He's one of those guys too.
Yeah. That's right.
So fun to have on DraftKings. They're my kryptonite because I really want to play a guy, Ronnie Lawrence, and he is also my favorite fight to target. But you covered all that. Let me add another one. Tresean Gore, Cody Brundage. That's gonna be a fun fight. Both these guys who relatively new to the UFC, relatively new to MMA in general, especially for Tresean Gore. But I think this is a very good stylistic matchup for both of them. Cody Brundage is a guy who seems to be killer to be killed because he goes out there with a great game plan and he's always trying to take people down and implement his will on them, and he knows what he wants to do to succeed. However, that sometimes comes at a cost. He's been chin checked before. He's going to face a guy in Tresean Gore who's really powerful, really strong. I just think that both these guys' win condition scores very, very well. Tresean Gore's win condition is probably touching that chin of Cody Brundage, knocking him out. We've seen this guy's got incredible power and great takedown defense. He's just a beast. But you can never count out Cody Brundage, just out Dalcha last time out. Cody Brundage definitely has heart the whole way. He's going to push for takedowns. He's going to look to get you down there, and he's not going to give up throughout the fight. So both these guys, I think that Cody Brundage is going to force Tresean Gore to push the pace and throw a little bit more volume than last time, and they're both very live to score a lot of points on DraftKings.
Sounds good to me. That is another good one there. For me, I'm going to get a little weird here. I think Jared Vanderaa, Chase Sherman is an interesting fight to target. I don't think it's going to be overly high owned. I think both guys have paths to scoring very, very well. Chase Sherman, like a 91% finish rate. Jared Vanderaa has that 44% striking defense. I think Chase Sherman could be live for a KO if it's on the feet. And I think if Jared Vanderaa uses any knowledge at all, just take this guy down to the mat, and I think the fight will be over shortly after. Both guys very good finishing rates in your 90%. I think somebody probably does get finished here, and I think it does score very well at this price tag. So I like that heavyweight fight. Vanderaa Sherman, I think the winner does score very well. So 3 different ones there. Monk, what are you liking for the fight to target?
How amazing would the scenes be where you get to see Jared Vanderaa learn the Ezekiel choke after he gets beat by Alexei Oleinik. Then he puts it on Chase Sherman in the first round to win. That would be fantastic. Also, I'd be remiss. You guys are naming DraftKings players. What about the true king of all DraftKings, King Casey O'Neill? Got to shout out her. Michael Johnson, Jamie Mullarkey. That's the one I'm going to give you for this one. The Jamie Mullarkey side, if it wasn't for Ronnie Lawrence, he would have the best stats on the entire card, 3.7 points a minute, almost 119 when he wins. He does give up 3.2 a minute, but only allows 85. His average value is just under 9, but he is scoring from absolutely everywhere. 1.64 points a minute in takedowns and control time. Meanwhile, Michael Johnson allowing over 0.7 points per minute in those categories. Michael Johnson, not really a good scorer when you look at his whole career, only 83 points per win. But when he wins by KO, TKO, over 100 points. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this one. I think somebody's going down in this fight. I think it's probably, I think Jamie Mullarkey will probably win. His power index is the 3rd highest on the card. Chindex, though, super suspect, as we know from Jamie Mullarkey. Michael Johnson has a great power index as well. So if one of these guys connects with you, it's probably going to the ground and then some ground and pound finish. So I don't think this one's going to decision. And I like the winner to score, possibly a 1st or 2nd round knockout, get that triple digits. If that happens for Michael Johnson, he's making the optimal. But I really do favor the Jamie Mullarkey side of things here. So that's the fight I'm looking to target.
Sounds good. 4 different ones there. Let us move on to the fight to fade, and we'll start with you, Gordo. What is your fight to fade for this week?
Oh, I love that you're letting me go first because I think we might be on a similar path here. I'm taking Antonina Shevchenko and Courtney Casey. I don't think this fight is going to be that necessarily high paced. I don't think Antonina has to worry about takedowns as much as she usually would. That forces her fights to score well recently. I think that's just going to be a slower kickboxing affair that maybe Shevchenko has the edge on. I just don't see there being any extra added value drafting points in terms of takedowns, control time, knockdowns. I think this just turns into a sloppy kickboxing bout for 15 minutes. And there are so many better fights to target around there that I just think that this is one that I'm going to stay away from almost completely.
Sounds good. No argument for me there. Monk, what is your fight to target or fight to fade this week?
I guarantee no one else is saying this one probably. I'm going with the co-main event. Caio Borralho and Armen Petrosyan, 8,900 for Borralho, 73 for Petrosyan. I do like both styles of these guys. They both score decently per minute, right around the 3.38, 3.4 points per minute mark. But in their UFC fights so far, 77 points is what Borralho scored in his 3-round decision, or just under 3-round decision. I believe he got the
It was a technical decision.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because
Fight.
Now I remember, because he's only got 14 minutes of fight time, but he had a decision. So and then Petrosyan has the decision win over Gregory Rodriguez, and he only scored 81 in that fight. These guys both have potential, obviously, to be big finishers. And for that reason, I think this one is going to go to decision. Both these guys seem super tough. Borralho does not seem like he's going to put himself in too many bad positions. And Armen, like I said, seems extremely tough. So I think this one goes to decision with the winner scoring about 80 points. And it's going to be a huge letdown. Even for Petrosyan, that would 10x his score. And he did make the optimal with that 81-point score last time. But lately, the DraftKings points have been such that I mean, you got to pretty much get triple digits in order to land on the optimal lineup. And I think Borralho, without any more stats than I have, 89 is just too much for him to get you 77 points in a win. And 81 is not, ideal when you're looking at the other side of things. So I tend to think this one goes longer than, I tend to think it doesn't finish is what I'm trying to say. And the winner probably gets about 80, 85 points. So I'll slight fade on the co-main event here.
There you go. Weezy, how about you? What is your fight to fade?
Yeah, I'll give you another one here. How about Kennedy and Nchekwu versus Carl Roberson? I think it's an interesting one to fade. Now, this is the 5th most likely fight to finish inside the distance, but I don't like it for DraftKings purposes. Neither one of these guys grapples much offensively, and both are relatively low output in the striking. Kennedy and Carl score 2.42 and 2.63 DraftKings points per minute, respectively. And if you add that to the fact that between Kennedy and Carl's 18 combined UFC fights, they've only attempted a total of 8 takedowns and gotten 4. 4 takedowns total in 18 fights, basically tells you that unless somebody gets knocked out in the first round here, that this probably isn't going to be optimal, even though it's mid-priced. If there's not much grappling upside, and then you got a guy like Kennedy and Nchekwu who looked like Homer Simpson against Carlos Ulberg, absorbed about 130 significant strikes and wound up winning. It just looks like it's going to be a sloppy, low-paced kickboxing match, and both guys are pretty durable in the kickboxing, so I'm going to stay away from that one.
Looks like we are going to give 4 different ones here as well. I'm going to go with Cynthia Calvillo going against Nina Nunes. I mean, if anything, I'll probably take the dog shot on Nina Nunes, but Nunes, she's not going to go for any takedowns here. I think if she does win, it's probably a 15-minute fight where it's on the feet and probably doesn't even score well. I don't trust Cynthia Calvillo to go out there and implement her takedown game. Probably goes to decision, probably boring, probably doesn't score a lot. I will be fading Calvillo and Nunes, but I do agree with some of what you guys said as well. Let us go to our fighter to fade, and I will kick this one off. I'm going to go with Antonina Shevchenko, 8,700, just a little bit too, a lot of bit expensive. I think she wins this fight, but I don't see her going for takedowns against Casey. I kind of see her outpointing Casey for 15 minutes, ultimately not scoring well. I don't think there's much finish upside. Pretty easy fade there at 8,700. I think there's much better plays above and below her salary. Weezy, what is your favorite fighter to fade this week?
Yeah, same thing. It's Shevchenko. Courtney Casey's got 9 UFC losses, but she's only been finished once. So she's very durable. So outside of Antonina getting a finish or getting multiple takedowns, I don't see her paying off this salary when she's only averaging 2.64 DraftKings points per minute thus far in 8 UFC fights. Plus, this fight is the least likely on the card to finish inside the distance. So having the favorite in that fight is never a good idea. The options price close to her are just much better this week. So yeah, it's a very safe fade.
Yeah, right there with you. Monk, who is your fade for this week?
I'll go a bit what I assume is going to be contrarian and give you Rafael Fiziev, $9,000. What do we really get, though, when we look into the stats here? 2.85 points a minute, 77.94 in his wins, guys. 77. He only allows 2.36, 90 in his one loss. He is $600 over his average salary. Guy's only gone over, I love the guy, but he's only gone over 90 DraftKings points in one of his 5 UFC wins. In fact, over 100 in one of his 5 UFC wins. Other than that, it's been pretty low. I mean, he put up 71 against Riddell, 71 against Bobby Green, 72 against Casey, 65 against Alex White. Meanwhile, RDA over here has only been finished in 3 of his 11 losses. He's the one that's made the optimal lineup. He's only given up 2.61 points per minute. So I really like the fade on Fiziev here. The thing that RDA does give up is 1.02 points per minute in takedowns and control time, but Fiziev doesn't really target that at all. He's only 0.3 points a minute in those 2 categories put together. I think this one goes to decision, and at 2.85 points a minute, I mean, we're looking at like in the 60s for a score there. If you just do the math, plus 30 if he wins by decision, we're barely looking at a 10x at $9,000 here for Fiziev. So I'll probably be avoiding the stack for cash. I love Fiziev. I love this fight, but 9K for those stats is going to be a little bit interesting to get to. I'm going to have to see that he can put up, 100 points more consistently before I want to put that kind of salary down on Rafael Fiziev.
Yep, I like it. I'm right there with you. Gordo, how about you? Who is your fighter to fade?
Yeah, it was going to be Antonina Shevchenko, but since I gave you that as my fight to fade as a whole, let's go down to Cynthia Calvillo, 8.5K. I mean, I can go out there and I could talk about the way she's looked recently, or the fact that I don't think she's going to implement that wrestling game plan, or I don't think she's going to win these striking exchanges at a high clip. Or I could just tell you that there's no way I'm playing her over the people around her. She doesn't have the same ceiling as Ronnie Lawrence or Trayshawn Gore or Jared Vanderaa. Her ceiling just isn't there. She's just not someone I can trust at all. And I don't think that she's even got a high floor here, because she's seen that she's been losing a lot of these exchanges recently. And sure, to higher level competition, but I don't think that Nina Nunes is no slouch at all. 8.5K just doesn't seem like something very appealing for Cynthia Calvillo.
Absolutely agree. I will not be playing much of Calvillo myself. Let us go to our favorite dog, and we will start with you, Weezy. Who is your favorite dog for this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit off the script here and go with Aiemann Zahabi. It's kind of a contrarian pick as a dog here, but I like him to win this fight, actually. He's the more explosive option. He's the far better finisher in this fight. Turcios is allowing 3.46 DraftKings points per minute to his opponents thus far in the UFC. So even in a losing effort at that pace, that'd be over 50 DraftKings points in a loss for Zahabi if the fight went the full 3 rounds and Turcios gave up as many points per minute as he has in his past fights. Aiemann hasn't been a high-volume fighter in the past, but he's always been a finisher, and Turcios pushes a pace that will make it almost impossible for Aiemann to be low output here. I think Aiemann will be a very sneaky, high-upside underdog option this week, who has the perfect dance partner to have an exciting fight. And look, this guy's only got 8 career wins. 7 of them are inside the distance, and all 7 are in the first round. So, this is exactly the kind of option that you're looking for as an underdog. An opponent who's poor defensively and gives up a ton of points. A guy who's priced low and has a high upside due to an early finish. I think he's very sneaky this week. And the fact that he's scored very low in the past, he's the lowest scorer on this slate. Aiemann Zahabi is averaging 1.91 DraftKings points per minute, by far the worst on the slate. But because he's fighting Turcios, I think it's the pace, I think it's the style of the fight that we're going to see him a lot more active, because Turcios doesn't have a lot of power coming back his way. So I think we're going to see Aiemann at his best here.
I like it. I'll be talking about Zahabi later in the show. Monk, who are you liking for your favorite dog?
I'm going to give you the other side of my fighter to fade, and that's RDA, Rafael dos Anjos, $7,200. We're getting a deal on this guy, and I know he's almost 38 years old, but still, 3 points a minute. That's the second best number on the card, 104 when he wins. He's $1,000 under his average salary, you guys. Just a fantastic option, in my opinion. He did make the optimal in his last fight when he smashed Renato Moicano. I know we had some salary juggling issues that week. I believe this was a super short notice fight. In fact, I think that was the week Moicano had fought like the week or two before. But either way, Dos Anjos put up 154.66. There's no way this guy is done, as I've seen a couple of people say. 135 against Paul Felder before that. These are as close to Max Holloway numbers in the previous 2 fights as you could possibly get. This is over 280 points, almost 290 actually in his past 2 fights. Fiziev does not give up a ton, like I stated, only 2.36, but he has been finished in the past by, I believe, Magomed Mustayev in his UFC debut. My thoughts on this one, it does go to decision, like I said, but the longer it goes, the higher chance that we'll see RDA maybe land a takedown. Maybe in the 3rd or 4th later rounds. Fiziev is one of the best takedown defenses in the entire company. It's like 95.5%, something like that. But I like RDA here. I love the experience edge. 44 pro fights, 31 UFC fights, and I believe it was Fiziev himself on Ariel's show earlier that said RDA has more 5-round fights than Fiziev has fights total. So there's a huge experience edge here. I love the price savings on RDA. I love the scoring upside on RDA. And we don't know what Fiziev can do in a 5-round fight. So give me the edge on RDA here for my favorite dog at 7,200.
Yep, I went with the same thing. Not a ton of dogs really stick out to me this week, but you mentioned, this price tag is pretty crazy. And I like him more from like a cash game standpoint. especially if we can get takedowns as well. I know Fiziev has that 95% takedown defense, but I do think this is going to be his toughest test to date in that aspect. I think this fight does get extended as well. And yeah, I think he's a pretty good play in cash games. Like I said, in tournaments, I don't know if I'll get there that much in this like fight in general, but I think from a cash perspective, I do like RDA, especially at that salary, so you can go up and get some of the other studs up top. So give me a RDA 7,200 right there with you, Monk. Gordo, who are you liking for your favorite dog?
Well, you guys killed it on RDA too, and I was thinking there's my backup option is Zahabi. He's no one going to take him, but we're going to third backup. I have to be that guy and talk about Michael Johnson this weekend. I mean, not like this guy's a bad fighter. He's just he's got a banana peel on him, right? He's always just slipping up, losing these fights, and I think that if we cut some of his losses in half, like if we end that Thiago Moises fight right before he gets submitted down low, he's a favorite in this spot almost. I mean, I do think that he has a good ability on the feet here. I think that he's got the ability to be the rangier strike, the more technical strike, more precise striker, and win minutes here. And you look at a guy in Jamie Mullarkey who was just knocked out, less than 4 months ago. So I do think that the upside on Michael Johnson's definitely there. Of course, you never want to trust Michael Johnson. He was my third choice for a reason. But he definitely has the upside here that you want from someone to 7.1K. And I do think that he has the takedown defense and ability to keep it away at range to have a decent floor in this spot as well. So I'm liking him way more than I should at 7.1K. You never want to like Michael Johnson as much as I do right now. And it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. But I do think he has a decent chance of living up to and looking pretty decent as a dog.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think I'll have some Johnson myself. I mean, you can't trust the guy, but he's a huge dog here. We'll move on to our favorite GPP play, and we will start with you, Monk. Who are you liking this week?
Yeah, it's like Michael Johnson wins the fights he's supposed to lose, loses the fights he's supposed to win. What are we supposed to do with this guy? But at 7,100, if he wins, he's probably going to make the optimal. Favorite what are we on? GPP? I will give you the obvious one. I mean, I think Weezy already talked about him. Ronnie Lawrence, I mean, what? It made the optimal in both of his UFC fights so far. 6.93 points a minute, 133 when he wins. Again, another guy with absolutely, almost Holloway-esque type numbers, scoring, 265 points in his past two fights. Absolutely ridiculous. He also puts on a decent defensive pace, allowing just 2.45 points a minute, which is pretty damn good if you ask me. Average value of just under 15, and he's 550. Under his average salary. Like if he wins again and scores 133, there's no way we're getting him this low again until he loses. The one other thing I did want to add on to what Weezy said, he's a 5-tool fighter here. 2 points a minute in striking, over 1 point a minute in knockdowns, 2.5 points a minute in takedowns, 1 point a minute control time, and 0.18 points a minute in reversals. These are top numbers across the board, and they're basically unbelievable, especially when you find out he's got 27, almost 28 minutes of UFC fight time. These are absolutely just nuts numbers right here. So I got to give you Ronnie Lawrence. He'll be probably my most exposed fighter of the entire card at 8,400. When are you going to get numbers like this otherwise? So it's going to be Lawrence for me.
I like it. Gordo, how about you? Who is your favorite GPP play this week?
I know I said it already, but every time I hear those numbers, it's insane. Yeah, it's going to be Ronnie Lawrence again, but we've been pretty different so far this video. Let's give you another one. Even though we have talked about them already, when I'm talking about GPP plays, I want to get different. I want guys with upsides, and I want guys with low ownership. And I know we talked about them already, but Aiemann Zahabi is a guy I'm going to have in GPP formats just because I think that, first of all, everybody's on Turcios this week. A lot of people are looking past this guy, but I think that the more technical, powerful guy who has a good chance of finishing here is Aiemann Zahabi. I'm not taking him to win the fight more often. I wouldn't bet him to win the fight, but in my opinion, we're looking at the guy who's more explosive, the guy who has the ability to actually take advantage of it or expose Turcios' defense, and that's going to be Zahabi. I know he hasn't fought at a pretty high pace, but like Weezy mentioned, Turcios is going to make him fight at that high pace. And I think that the one thing that Zahabi will have the advantage of is that power, is the finishing ability, and he's just so technically sound. So I think that at the ownership he's going to have, if he gets a win, especially a finish win against Ricky Turcios, he is optimal, no problem. He's going to be super low owned. I like him in GPP, but he's definitely a risky play.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm going on the other side. Ricky Turcios, 8,800. I mean, if this guy wins, he's going to score so much. I mean, he's just so wild. Like, he's doing something at every single second of the fight. I think there's takedown upside. I think there's control time upside. I think there's a ton of strike upside. He scored 118 DraftKings points in his debut. The guy's just wild. And yes, he definitely could get caught by Zahabi. Zahabi's dangerous. He hits hard. He's a black belt. But if this fight does go to decision, like I kind of think, and if Turcios does get the win, I think he does put up a huge score just because of how active he is. So I like Turcios 8,800. Weezy, how about you? Who is your favorite GBP play this week?
Yeah, I'm going with the Walking Concussion, Jared Vanderaa. This is a terrifying pick, though. This is not a guy that has great fight IQ or great IQ. You know, I mean, you can just listen to this guy talk, and it's clear he's taken some beatings in the gym and maybe lost a few brain cells. But Jared has the third best inside the distance line on the slate, despite having the 8th highest salary. So it's some nice price savings there. He's definitely a low-priced, high upside option on Saturday and it's a big if, because Jared Vanderaa has only attempted one takedown at the UFC level, and it was against Harry Hunsucker in the Contender Series. And that takedown actually resulted in a win, a ground and pound victory where he got a first-round win. He does have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so if he chooses to take the path of least resistance, he could easily finish this bum who got drowned by Fat Collier in his last fight. My apologies to Tajik Bey. He was on my show Just the Tip last night. He said he will not tolerate any Chase Sherman slander, but I had to do it once. I had to call this guy a bum just once because his ground game is terrible. So, if Jared does choose to wrestle, if he does try to get this to the ground, I think at 8,700, he's going to be a no-brainer option and a really high upside option to get a finish here. But, it's a low-level fight. So, if it doesn't go your way, it's not my fault. It's theirs.
Yeah. Is there somebody? Monk,
it's only slander if it's a lie, though. That's what Tajik Bey needs to understand. So it's calling Chase Sherman a bum is actually a compliment, in my opinion.
Still, shout out to the GOAT, Tajik Bey. He's the man, so I just wanted to apologize, but I had to do it once this week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let us move on to our favorite cash game play, and I will kick us off here. I'm going to go with one David Onama, 9,300. I guess they just put the salaries out as of recent, but he's minus 800 on the money line. I kind of thought they might put him at like 94, 95, but no, they put him at 9,300. So definitely in play here for me. Fun fact, these guys have fought each other before as an amateur. It was a 3-round fight. Those rounds were 3 minutes each, and Onama won every single round pretty clearly. He hurt him at some points as well, and I think he goes out there and finishes him. I mean, there's just a lot going against Armfield in this fight. Armfield coming in on like 3 or 4 days notice. He's coming up a weight class. This is going to be his very first professional fight at 145 pounds. I mean, Onama was towering over him a couple of years ago as an amateur. He's going to be towering over him here. I think both guys have definitely got better, but I think Onama puts him out here and probably does it within the first 2 rounds. So let me sum Onama. I think he gets this done and gets it done inside the distance fairly early and puts up a big score at 9,300. Monk, who is your favorite cash play for this week?
I'm going to echo Weezy here. Jared Vanderaa is my favorite. I don't know how this is possible, but it's really, seriously, no disrespect to the GOAT here, but I'm not. Can you pick Chase Sherman to what can you pick Chase Sherman to win at, honestly, at this point? Guys, 3-9 in the UFC, $7,600 is way too much for him. But that means you get Jared Vanderaa at 86. I mean, I'd be shocked if Sherman gets a W here. I don't think Vanderaa is a very good fight. Very good fighter. He is 1-4 in the UFC combined. These guys are 4-13 in the UFC, and they both have current contracts, you guys. That's the state of the heavyweight division. Absolutely fantastic. But I just don't see until I see it happen, and then I still may not believe it. There's no way I can pick Chase Sherman to beat any fighter in the UFC at any time ever. So give me Jared Vanderaa. Somehow he's as close to a lock as I see at any of these fights, and I could be very wrong, obviously. But like I said, until I see it, I just simply refuse to believe it. So Jared Vanderaa for an easy cash smash.
Sounds good. Terrifying, but sounds good. Weezy, how about you? Who are you liking for cash this week?
Yeah, I like Caio Borralho this week. I'm very confident about him getting the win against Armen. Caio might be better everywhere in this fight, and he's been a solid scorer thus far, averaging 3.92 DraftKings points per minute if you include the Contender Series fight. And he has the fourth best inside the distance line on the slate and the fifth best of highest salary. So there's a little bit of price savings there. But look, Caio's grappling is next level. Dude's been training with Damian Maia for almost 10 years. But a lot of people are saying that Armen has the striking advantage. I don't even know if that's true. This guy, Caio, is a very, very good striker, and he has a very tricky style to deal with karate, Shida-esque style. Plus, he's a natural righty who fights southpaw. So he's really developed to be able to fight southpaw. He's got serious power in both hands. And he's tough to close the distance on. And if you do explosively, he'll react with a double leg. So I think not only is he the way better grappler here, and nobody's disputing that, I think he's actually going to be the bigger dude, even though he's listed as 4 inches shorter than Petrosyan. That's total bullshit. And I don't know how these guys get away with it, man. How does Omar Gadziev get away with saying he's 6'1", Borralho get away with saying he's 5'10", and Borralho is 3 inches taller than this guy? So I think Caio Borralho might be 6'3". I mean, I think it's absolutely possible. So I think he's the bigger guy. He's more experienced. He's the better finisher. Not overall, but I think with the grappling, he's the much better finisher. Striking is going to be very close. I think Caio might be better there, but he's going to be the far better grappler, and his fight IQ is absolutely fantastic. So I love Caio Borralho this week, and I think he's going to get it done inside the distance, and he is also Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week.
Let's go. I like it. Gordo, how about you? Who is your favorite cash play for this week?
First of all, I missed your video last night, so I'm super happy to hear Borralho is your ass shaving of the week because I actually love him this week too. But I'm going to take the easy way. I think that David Onama, the -800 favorite, is my favorite cash play of the week. I do think that this fight being at 145 makes a big difference because Armfield, where he may be young, he may be improving, he may be decently talented, is going to be at a huge size disparity here. It's going to be tough for him, especially seeing how they fought their last time out too. So David Onama, 9.3K. I get he's unbettable at the moneyline price tag, but he's definitely playable on DraftKings, and that's how I'm targeting that fight.
100%. Yes, he is. Let us move on to our favorite value play, and we will stick with you, Gordo. Who are you liking for some value this week?
Oh, I was muted for a bit. There we go. Don't think of that. But yeah, I have to go with RDA. I think that you guys talked about him a lot as your favorite dog of the week, and I think that value-wise, it's just there. Whereas Rafael Fiziev has this insane amount of power and technical ability. He's a great technical fighter. I mean, he's giving up a lot of advantages to RDA, and at 7.2K, I think that it is a great place for him. You're giving the experience edge, the cardio edge, the wrestling edge, the pressure edge, all to a guy in RDA who people are saying isn't looking the best recently in terms of him getting older, him being shot, but you can't say that the way he's putting up performances recently. 7.2K, the value on this guy is absolutely immense. I think that he goes out there, and I think he has a good chance of winning this fight, but it is going to be a bit dangerous because, Fiziev has power all throughout those first couple rounds. So I think that he survives the first 3. He cruises his way to a nice tax value, no problem at all. And I'm looking for a fight. That's a great main event.
Sounds good. I like it right there with you. For me, I'm going to go with Ronnie Lawrence at 8,400. I mean, the upside of this guy is just insane. He's averaging over 9 takedowns per 15 minutes. And if he wins this fight, expect a lot of takedowns, a lot of control time, a lot of strikes, a very fast paced fight as well. And I think if Ronnie Lawrence does win, he's going to put up a crazy score at 8,400. I think just with the upside of this guy from a DFS perspective, he's just way too cheap. This guy is a DraftKings. He's DraftKings gold. So I like Ronnie Lawrence, 8,400. I would pay for this guy if he was like 9,000 this week. So I'll definitely pay for him at 8,400. Monk, how about you? Who is your favorite value play?
I am gonna go with a guy that should be low owned and has some decent upside, especially in his past 2. Douglas Silva de Andrade. First of all, you're paying the Nurmagomedov tax if you're on that side. You're paying the double Nurmagomedov tax because he got a quick win bonus against Cody Stamann in that one. So that's what he's coming off of. That's what everybody remembers. Silva de Andrade on the other side has made the optimal in 2 out of his past 3 fights. One being against Morozov, where he absolutely destroyed him in the second round. 120 points is what he put up at 7,200. And then Gaetano Pirello, before that, 104.97 is what he scored. So he's been on a bit of a heater in the past two. I just think he's going to be severely under-owned, like I said, especially against Nurmagomedov. And at $7,000, I mean, you can easily stash him, get to some of those other top guys on the card as well. So I'm liking DSDA for this one here. Can we start calling him that? That just rolls right off the tongue.
100%. And he has a really good haircut as well. So I do like Andrade.
You know me, I love guys with good haircuts, obviously.
So does your Uncle Weezy. Weezy,
yeah, boy.
You play.
The rat tail it always will remain a classic, won't it? A classic example of the worst haircut that you could possibly have. But yeah, the value play for me is Rafael dos Anjos. I mean, we've said it a number of times already. The $7,200 salary combined with the fact that this is a 5-round fight makes him impossible to ignore. 3.07 Draftkings points a minute was what dos Anjos is scoring over a 31 fight sample size. So over a 25-minute fight, if it goes to decision, that comes out to 75 Draftkings points, which covers his $7,200 salary. And that's in a loss. And add to that fact that Rafi has only been knocked down once in 31 UFC fights. So if he can remain durable and mix in the wrestling with any success here, he could even be live for a win. If that happens, he's definitely optimal. Even if he doesn't, as long as he doesn't get slept in the first and second round, he should be a good option here. So I think it's a great value play this week.
Sounds good. I like it. All right, let us move on to our dart throw, and I will kick this one off. Is a name that I think two people already said. It's going to be Aiemann Zahabi, 7,400. It's just based off of the fact that Ricky Turcios is extremely wild, extremely sloppy. He leaves a ton of openings. His takedown defense is horrible. If Zahabi does choose to go the takedown route, he has a black belt in BJJ. We haven't got to see it a ton in the UFC, but that very well could be on the table here. On top of that, Turcios does eat punches with his face, and Zahabi does hit like a truck. So I think if Zahabi does win, it is probably by knockout. It's probably inside the distance. He probably scores very well. And I think, like you said, Gordo, he's going to be very, very low owned. So I do like some Zahabi as a dart throw this week, but it sounds like a couple of you guys are already on him. Weezy, how about you? Who is your dart throw for this week?
I'm going to give you guys Cody Brundage this week. Nobody's giving Cody much of a chance in this fight, but I see some holes in Gore's game. Trey doesn't throw counter punches, and his fights are very low volume. So I think, Cody is obviously going to be the better grappler here, while Trey will be the better striker. But if Trey is not counter punching, and he's going into a defensive shell every time Cody throws a combination, I could see Cody throwing combinations to the head, changing his level for a double leg, and maybe getting on top of this dude. And if he does, man, he's a very dangerous submission grappler. Also, I'd like to see somebody push that pace against Tresean Gore. It's something we really haven't seen yet. Battle pushed a really heavy striking pace. Now, Gore was pressuring him. Battle was skirting the outside of the cage. But if you go back and you watch that fight, with all the volume that Battle is throwing, not once does Tresean Gore plant his feet and throw a counter strike. So that's a big hole to have at the UFC level. When coaches get a hold, and I mean, Mark Montoya knows that. He knows that Tresean's not throwing counter strikes. So this means that Cody's going to have entries to get in there and set up the wrestling entries. And the way that he finished Dalcha was really impressive. He remained very calm in a very chaotic situation there. And I think if he pushes a pace on Tresean Gore, he could wind up finishing this dude late. And if he does, at his salary, I think he's going to be very low owned. And he's got the 6th best inside the distance line on this slate, despite the fact that he's listed as an underdog. So for a dart throw, I think it's worth a look for Cody Brundage this week.
And on top of that, he will be on the MMA Engine channel in about an hour and 18 minutes as well. So that's going to be fun. Make sure you guys check that out. The interview with Weezy and Lou. I like it. Gordo, how about you? Who is your dart throw for this week?
Yeah, let's go against everybody's favorite fighter, Ronnie Lawrence, and take Kakramanov as my dart throw this week. Ronnie Lawrence is a guy who's he's getting so much attention, rightfully so. This guy's stats are unreal. He's a great, great fighter. But what's the one knack we have on Ronnie Lawrence? And that is probably, let's say, his durability. He cuts a lot of weight. He gets hit a lot. And when he does get hit, he goes down. He just asked last time out. I mean, he made everybody absolutely sweat last fight when he got knocked down twice in the third round. And we have to completely give credit to Saidou Koub. The guy has very, very good skills himself. And he put up a decent showing against Trevin Jones. And I think that he went toe-to-toe with Nurmagomedov. He's going to go toe-to-toe here with Ronnie Lawrence. And for every second that he's throwing, he's dangerous. And I think that with all the ownership going towards Ronnie Lawrence, he's going to go very much overlooked. I think he has a very good chance, and his win condition scores very, very well. This fight as a whole scores very, very well, because either it's going to be Ronnie Lawrence pushing a pace, adding to his incredible numbers, or it's going to be Saidou Koub getting a knockout win. I think that's his main win condition. I think that's the main path to victory. And he's definitely going to have his shots at landing them there. So like you guys said, Ronnie Lawrence lands those takedowns, but he can't keep them down that much. And therefore, the more you're on the feet, the more chance you have at finishing Ronnie Lawrence there. So dart throw, I do love Ronnie Lawrence. You can't get me off that, but I will have some Saidou Koub as a dart throw.
Good one there. I like it. Monk, how about you? Who's your dart throw for this week?
Well, let me invoke the power and mysterious ways of salary voodoo here. I'm going to give you Nina Nunes. She has no good stats to speak of. So 7,700 is one of the best salaries you can play, even at a dog price. It is the 5th best performing salary out of all salaries. Let me just give you a little bit. 7,700 has made optimal more than any other salary 23 times out of 63 uses. That's the best percentage overall, 36.5%. It has a win rate of 51%, and when it does win, makes optimal 68.75% of the time. I know it's very difficult to trust Nina Nunes, but her opponent this week is Cynthia Calvillo, who's looked like decent in her loss, then a little worse, and then complete trash in her last loss. I mean, if you're not coming out in the third round to Andrea Lee, like, I'm not putting you in my lineups at all. The other caveat here, women's flyweight, I've heard me say this before, makes the optimal at a higher rate than any other weight class. 33 times someone from a women's flyweight's made the optimal out of 60 fights. That's an even 55%. So the salary voodoo is strong with this one. Give me Nina Nunes for a complete dart throw. Maybe Cynthia Calvillo will just turn around halfway through her walk down, and we'll count that as a quick win bonus. So give me Nina Nunes here.
Sounds good. And yeah, I like hearing that, because I do sadly have Nina in my lineup that we'll talk about soon. But before we continue, guys, if you have any questions, type them in the chat. We will get to them. We're going to go over the scores from last week, and I am pulling them up, and I have them. So in 4th place was Uncle Weezy with Sean O'Malley with 10, Volkanovski 114, Jalen Turner 116, Dricus Duplessis 79, Sean Strickland 6, and then Gabe Green 47 with 373.75. In 3rd place was Monk, Andre Muniz 91, Barber 62, Volkanovski 114, Duplessis 79, Strickland 6, and then Cannonier 53. In 2nd place was me with Sean O'Malley 10, Volkanovski 114, Turner 116, Duplessis 79, Barber Reina 129, and then Max Holloway with 58. And then in 1st place was Gordo with Adesanya 85, Muniz 91, Turner 116, Duplessis 79, Barber Reina 129, and then Max Holloway with 58. Congrats, Gordo. You got out of your slump, man.
We broke the Iron Man curse. I appreciate you guys for letting me have that one. What a great night of fights, by the way. And I was sitting back the night after looking at it. I'm like, oh, wasn't that good? My boy Max lost. I didn't get a finish in the Adesanya fight. No, it was a very good fight night despite those two and that anticlimactic O'Malley fight. Some pretty good scraps and some really good DraftKings score. What a night.
Heck yeah. So we have 22 cards total for the year. We will go over those scores now. In 4th place is Monk with 9,099.04 DraftKings points. He is 1,011.35 behind Gordo. In 3rd place, Weezy with 9,187.64 DraftKings points. He is 922.75 DraftKings points behind Gordo. In 2nd place is me with 9,483.64, and I am 626.75 behind Gordo. And then 1st place is Gordo with 10,110.39. Congrats, Gordo. You are still keeping up in 1st.
Well, it's going to be a risky one this week, and I got a pretty risky GPP line here for this contest, so it'll be fun. It's been fun so far, and we got plenty of a way to go.
Heck yeah. Just a reminder, a loser of this contest when the year is over does have to come on stream with a Douglas Silva de Andrade rat tail. All right. We will go to our lineups for this week. And Uncle Weezy, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, for sure. So up top, I'm going with Said Nurmagomedov. Then it's going to be Caio Borralho, Jared Vanderaa, Ronnie Lawrence, Aiemann Zahabi, and Rafael dos Anjos.
Sounds good. Gordo, how about you? What is your lineup for this week?
I have never flip-flopped so much in my life, so this may change. But right now we got Caio Borralho, RDA, Michael Johnson, Ronnie Lawrence, David Onama, and Jared Vanderaa.
Sounds good. I'm going to go with RDA, Ronnie Lawrence, David Onama, Ricky Turcios, Vanderaa, and Nina Nunes. Monk, how about you?
Let's see. I'll go with David Onama, Jamie Mullarkey, Caio Borralho, Ronnie Lawrence, RDA, and Rat Tail himself, Douglas Silva de Andrade.
Let's go. All right. Let us give our predictions. And if you guys have anything in the chat, let me know. But we will start with you, Weezy. What are your predictions for the card?
Okay, so I am going with Fiziev in the main event, Borralho in the co-main, and that's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. I'm going with Said Nurmagomedov, Vanderaa, Mullarkey, Nina Nunes, Zahabi, Shevchenko, Brundage, Onama, Roberson, and Lawrence.
Sounds good. Give me RDA in the main event. Give me Caio Borralho. Give me Said Nurmagomedov, Jared Vanderaa, Nina Nunes, Jamie Mullarkey, Ricky Turcios, Antonina Shevchenko, Tresean Gore, David Onama, Kennedy and Nzechukwu, and then Ronnie Lawrence. Gordo, what are your picks for this week?
Okay, we're going to take Fiziev in the main event, Caio Borralho in the co-main, Said Nurmagomedov in the not co-main, Jared Vanderaa, Michael Johnson, Nina Nunes, Ricky Turcios, Antonina Shevchenko, Tresean Gore, David Onama, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and Ronnie Lawrence.
And last but not least, Monk, what are your picks for this week?
You're muted.
Shit. Apparently buttons don't work. Computer Monk going super chalk this week, except for our very special guest who will be on the MMA Engine later. Ronnie Lawrence, Kennedy Nzechukwu, David Onama, Cody Brundage, the one and only, Antonina Shevchenko, Ricky Turcios, Cynthia Calvillo, Jamie Mullarkey, as Weezy said, love it, Jared Vanderaa, Said Nurmagomedov, Caio Borralho, and Rafael Fiziev.
Sounds good. All right, guys, we did it. I would kick it around now. Weezy, let the people know where they can find you and what you have going on tonight and throughout the week.
Yeah, you can find me in 1 hour on the MMA Engine YouTube channel doing a balls deep breakdown on the Tresean Gore versus Cody Brundage fight. Special guests, myself, Lou Beck, and of course the man himself, Cody Brundage. And then we've got on Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel, you can find me every Tuesday night doing Just the Tip. I'm probably going to do an Ask Weezy maybe tomorrow night. And you can also find me on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show every Wednesday, for the watch along every Saturday, and then every Sunday, 6:15 Central Time for Stat Diggers. And, you know, by the way, the only thing left to do is to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 58. Let's go, you guys.
Absolutely. Let's go. Gordo, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the rest of the week.
For sure, everything I post and have out there is going to be on my Twitter at GamblesGordo. We're looking to keep the streak rolling, but I also put my stuff on Plays and Fade Sports on YouTube. That is my YouTube channel. Currently have the DFS and prop drop videos uploading and editing right now, so I apologize for the Wi-Fi issues. I went down live yesterday on the Couch Warrior pod to break down the entire slate from a betting perspective, and then on the current MMA YouTube channel, I will have my best bets video out. But GamblesGordo on Twitter and at Plays Fade Sports on YouTube.
Sounds good. And then, Monk, how about you? Where can they find you? What do you have going on throughout the rest of the week?
Thank you, Pub Sports Radio, as usual. Like the video, guys. Subscribe to that channel as well. I just put out Game Theory on the Monk Maddox channel. My top 3 plays for DraftKings on that channel as well. And then MMA Engine Salary Voodoo's out there. We've got Happy Hour coming on Friday. And then Sunday, the new show that everybody seems to like, the UFC recap from the night before. It's called The Morning After. It'll be live. Completely live on Sunday mornings in between 10 and 11, guys. Don't like tie me down to a time here. All right. I got sleeping to do. I got other things to do. But it should be in between 10 and 11 a.m. Central. It's about 20-30 minutes. So get in there, get some comments going. We'll just talk about the fights, DraftKings optimal lineup, how CM Monk did. So check all that out on those 2 channels, guys. Thanks.
Sounds good. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I'll be back on the MMA Engine tomorrow for Probability with Uncle Weezy. Back on the MMA Engine as well on Friday for my Final Thoughts live stream. And then back on my channel on Saturday for Best Bet with me, Uncle Weezy, Eric, and I think Narco's playing some poker, so maybe not him, but us three for sure will be there. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. All the good stuff. We'll talk to you very soon. Best of luck for UFC Vegas.